Okay.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד.
Hine matov umanayim. Behold how good it is for us to come together in person with people who live here, with visitors, with those who are online on Zoom, some of whom also live here, and some of whom are from, what did they say about that musical and movie they made about the plane that landed? From away. Some of whom are from away. But we come together in warmth and in spirit on this wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Michael Feshbach. I'm delighted once again, and I hope next week, of course, for our Interfaith Thanksgiving service, but I hope some occasions in the future also. Even after Gilchrist is back, there may be times that we'll turn to you, but welcome to the Minister of Music and Arts from the St. Thomas Reformed Church, Chanel Schaefer. We're delighted to have you with us, and thank you so much for your support while Gilchrist has been away. We are practicing tonight. Well, we're perfect, of course, but we are also practicing some things we will hear again next week at our Interfaith Thanksgiving service, also at 7 p.m. Island time next week, when we are joined from a few more people from down the hill, our 49th annual Interfaith Thanksgiving service with the St. Thomas Reformed Church. We are not serving a dinner this year because of COVID, but boy, am I looking forward to their hosting a great dinner next year. But we'll have to help. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. To begin, I also want to thank Layla Richmond, who is not only singing but also streaming, and Chase Rosenthal, who will help, but Ariel and Lyra Rosenthal, who will be helping with the service, and our lay reader, our congregant reader for part of the service as well, Jennifer Arolano. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome. To begin and end our service tonight, we are taking somebody who thought she was on vacation and making her work. We call forward to light candles a guest here with us for the first time. Leslie Luxembourg will be lighting candles, the English reading on page 121, then lighting the candles, followed by the bracha, the blessing, on page 120. Leslie will also be leading Adon Olam at the very end of the service and joins us after many years in the choir at Washington Hebrew Congregation. So welcome to Leslie, and thank you. Page 121.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Let's hope.
Yasher Koach. Yasher Koach, and thank you. In pre-COVID days, I would come give you a hug, but maybe next time you visit in the future. Pages 127, 124 through 127, a selection of one of those prayers in personal prayer. Kabbalat Shabbat, the psalms and songs with which we welcome Shabbat. On pages 130 and 131, next week we return, I think, to the partially English version. If we're including this at all, I don't actually remember. But tonight, the Hebrew a little bit from the beginning of page 130, a little bit from page 131, then back to 130, from Psalm 95 and Psalm 96. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai, sing unto God a new song. Lechu neranena l'Adonai, shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Lechu nerane na ladon naria letzor yishenu nekadma fanav betoda naria letzor yishenu bizmirot naria lo lechu nerane na lechu nerane lechu nerane na l'Adonai lechu nerane na lechu nerane na lechu nerane na l'Adonai shiru l'Adonai shiru shir chadash shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz shiru l'Adonai shiru shir chadash shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz shiru l'Adonai baruchu shemo basru miyom leyom yeshuato shiru l'Adonai baruchu shemo basru miyom leyom Yeshua lechu neranena lechu neranena lechu neranena l'Adonai lechu neranena lechu neranena lechu neranena l'Adonai. Thank you all. From Psalm 99 on page 135. Exalt Adonai our God and bow toward God's holy hill. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Lehar Kodsho Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu. There will be much more English in the service next week, including in the knew I shouldn't have delayed it asking him. Including in the, I forgot what I was saying. Much more English in the service next week. But we are including the Argentinian setting of Lecha Dodi. So while it is Shabbat and we are here, we are present in the moment for its own sake. This is also practice for next week. Page 138 and 139, stanzas 1, 2, 5, and 9. It's orrery. As we face the door. Boi chala, ya, lai, ya, lai, lecha dodi, ya, lai, Penei Shabbat, And thank you to Julie and all of you. To those of you who are visiting, these words, which are part of Kabbalat Shabbat, speak loudly to me living here. From the very end of Psalm 93, at least as it appears on page 141, the last non-indented paragraph we read in English together. The ocean sounds, Adonai. The ocean sounds its thunder. The ocean sounds its pounding. Above the thunder of the mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea, is Adonai, majestic on high. Your decrees are indeed enduring. Holiness befits your house, Adonai, for all times. Page 143, as it happens, is the beginning of this week's Torah portion. And as we read and witness disturbing things that are happening in many trials, in Georgia, in Wisconsin, at this moment, trials of true tragedies and horrible things being said by judges and defense attorneys alike. We remember that this was the first of Jacob's great trials, which we will return to later. But we read just the last paragraph here together. Waking from his sleep, Jacob said, "Truly Adonai is in this place, and I did not know it." He was awestruck and said, "How awe-inspiring is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." Page 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala uv'izman kariv v'imiru. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam lo me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudesha le'ela min kol berachata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Tamiran be'alma v'meru. Amen. As we continue with Baruch Hu on page 146, we rise, we face the ark just for Baruch Hu. We will remain standing but turn more towards the center after Baruch Hu, page 146. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach, Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Leolam Va'ed. We remain standing but face more towards the front of your seats. The top of page 149, together, praise to you, Adonai our God. from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-ma'ariv aravim. On the bottom of page 150, the English together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. 1, 2, 3.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam.
Please be seated.
And then loud for Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha
ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננת לעיניך ודיברת בם בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Page 159, and then back to 158 for Michamocha. Together, sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o sefele, nora tehilot O Seifele, Shir Malchutecha, Ra'uvanecha, Bokei Hayam, Lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, לעולם ועד. ונאמר כיפד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. The bottom of page 161, before we have company up here for Vishamru after that. Together, give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter, into the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. Page 162 for Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Stay there. The Amidah, the Tefillah, the introduction begins on page 164. We rise, we face the ark. 1, 2. Adonai,
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei HaKol, Ve'zocher Chatzir Bot ve'imachot, U'mevi Geula Libnei B'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Erev Hatzara, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah, Rav leHoshia.
Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem. Mechal
Mechal Chaim melech Yeshua. Ne'eman ata lechachayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai.
Mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, kadoshim b'chol yom yhalalu chasela. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You guys can join our for Oseh Shalom if you want, or you can go back down. At this point, I usually invite you to either remain standing or be seated. Tonight, I ask you to be seated. We turn now to the intermediate blessings and our lay reader, Jennifer Arellano, beginning on page 173.
Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, with the quietude which arises from a shunning of the honor, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by our half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action.
Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service.
We continue in personal prayer. The bottom of page 180, Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Vermalav. Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. Le'el Kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen.
turning the corner, but then not so fast. Cases surging in places with high vaccination rates: Vermont, New Hampshire, Colorado. Breakthrough cases in some places, just to the places we're about to visit and travel to. We are not past this. We are not out of this, however much we may want to be. However much there are parts of the country who still think the whole thing was a hoax. At a time of pandemic and plague, our prayers for healing are especially poignant and needed. Mishaberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah, V'Yivarech V'Yirapeh et HaCholim Ha'ela. O God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, send your blessing and healing, your comfort and your hope to all those whose names appear before us on the service sheet, and even in addition to those names, or even including them if you would like, we add out loud the following, starting with me, turning to you, and then anyone who is on Zoom, anyone who is ill, isolated, alone, anyone, any creature in need of our healing and attention. As I mention at this time, Rachel Korazim, Ronnie Lockhart, Sandra Rowland, Ben Yates Lansky. Aparna Nakpal, anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Rabbi. Jonathan Allison Janofsky, Sophia and Adam Janofsky.
And Natalie Capstein.
Steve Rockstein, Udine Bradshaw.
Blyden family.
We praise you, O God, who helps us heal, who brings us comfort. Please join me in the words to Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach. I have been skipping this during this period in between, major, secure, single, not meaning unmarried, but you know what I mean, singers. But in the meantime, we are including this next week. So we continue with the Mishaberach prayer. The words are above the names in the prayer for healing in the service sheet.
Mishaberach Avotenu, Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu, Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you. Friends, I am counting the days until next Friday, November 19th. And while I would like to say, as a good rabbi, a good professional, and a good colleague, that the reason I am counting these days is because of our Interfaith Thanksgiving service, Friday, November 19th, 7 p.m. Atlantic time, that's not actually entirely true. Anybody beside my wife know why I'm counting the days until November 19th? You might be right, but I can't hear you. That is a great reason to count the days, but no.
Your birthday.
In fact, on November 19th,
The Adele
my
album.
favorite fantasy series of all time is coming. The first 3 episodes are dropping next Friday. The first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time. Now, to those of you who do not know Robert Jordan's huge series, each of these books, look, a typical fantasy has good guys and they have bad guys. The Wheel of Time has good guys, it has bad guys, and it has about 8 other groups that think they're the good guys. I have no idea. He must have had a flow chart to keep track of everyone. This is world making at its absolute best. It's way better than Game of Thrones. I don't know if its execution on television will be. Certainly it should, if it's based anything on the books, be a little less gory and a little less, never mind. But I am so excited about this. But there's a thing about Wheel of Time that I have to share with you, because Robert Jordan wrote book after book after book, and they're all 800, 900, 950. Some of them broke the press and are, 1,100 pages long. And he starts out, I think the first one appears in 1990, and he keeps going, and every couple years a new one comes out, and they rush to the top of the New York Times bestseller list, and then he is diagnosed with an incurable blood disease. To me, this felt like Moses, who was able to glimpse the promised land from afar but not get there himself. Now, I actually know colleagues of mine who compare themselves to Moses, so this may seem like an entirely overblown analogy for a fantasy writer, but it's like, really, come on. I mean, you got to finish the story, man. And so, before he died, he hired Brandon Sanderson, had many meetings with Brandon Sanderson, told him his vision, laid out for him the ending, and Brandon Sanderson wrote the last 3 books listed as a co-author with Robert Jordan. Why am I sharing this with you besides the fact that I wanted to? A dream seen from afar. In this week's Torah portion, in this trial that Jacob goes through, the first or second or third of many of his trials, we encounter my favorite high school slow dance song by Led Zeppelin. We encounter A Stairway to Heaven. And we'll look at this in detail in Torah study tomorrow morning, beginning at 10:30 Island time, 9:30 Eastern time. This is one of the strangest 12 verses in the entire Torah, because Jacob, not known for being shy and modest, lives up to his reputation of absolute, total chutzpah, pure, unmitigated gall. Jacob is scared, he is frightened, he is lonely, he is away from home, he's a mama's boy, he's left home for the first time. And the sun goes down. Some say the sun went down preternaturally early at 3 p.m. just to force him because this had to take place right on this spot, right on the border of Eretz Yisrael, of the land of Israel. Strange things happen when you leave Eretz Yisrael. And as you know from next week's portion, and wrestling with something, a man, an angel, strange things happen when you come to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel as well. But Jacob is a long way from having his name changed and the blessing which he will earn finally, not from tricking his brother, not from tricking his father, but a blessing directly from maybe it's God, maybe it's a reflection of himself and looking inside, whatever next week's portion is about. Next week you'll hear from the new co-pastor at the Reformed Church, Ben Rowe, his interpretation of Jacob's struggle in the night. That's next week. But for now, he stops. He's in the middle of nowhere. He takes a rock. He uses that as a pillow. Strange things happen when you use a rock as a pillow. Vayachalom. And he dreams. Vehine sulam mutzav artza. And behold, a ladder is placed. Mutzav is a strange formulation for the word placed. And that's significant. There are many other words it could have used. Mutzav is a weird, once used passive form, is placed. And you'll see why in a minute. A sulam, a ladder, is placed on the ground. V'rosho magia hashamayma. And its head arrives in the skies. It goes up into the heavens. Umalachei Adonai olim v'yordim bo. And the angels of God are going up and coming down, which is strange, by the way. Listen to the order. They're going up means they were here already. And new ones coming down. And then he has a vision of the Most High. And at the moment he is the most scared, God says, the land you are on, I will give to you. I will make your house secure. I will increase your seed. I will make your possessions. Everything Jacob is scared of is now promised to him. And it's wonderful and it's fabulous. And then he wakes up. And he wakes up and he does the most Jacob-like, chutzpah-like, bizarre thing you could possibly imagine. He then bargains with God who has just given him these promises. And he says, if God gives me these things, then, come on, Jacob, you just got handed this on a silver platter. You have to, phrase it like that, make a conditional vow, with God. But look at what Jacob then does. He takes the rock which had been on his head. The word for head is rosh. But remember what it said, rosho of the ladder, the head of the ladder had been in the heavens. And he takes what had been on his head, this rock, and he sets it up as a matzeva. Sound familiar? That's why we use the word mutzav. It's an echo of this word here. There's a link between the ladder in his dream, the rock on which he slept, and the pillar. What is a pillar if not like a fake ladder? Something that is leading up. In other words, Jacob is doing what he needs to do in the waking world to make his dreams come true. That, I think, is the power of this story. Not a vision from God, but the work of our own hands to make it so. Yes, we can. To make it real in our lives. I am counting the days, but this story is really about making our days count. And this story, I think, in these 12 verses, is one of the most powerful spiritual messages in our entire tradition. We can think we hear voices, and we can think they may be from a holy place, but then we wake up and it's up to us. Shabbat Shalom. A brief announcement, and then I am going to ask Carol Rich and Marilyn Blackhall and Donald and Trudy to come forward if they can towards the Ark in a moment. Tomorrow morning, our service begins. It's not actually a service. We're just doing the Mishaberach list, the prayer for healing, the Kaddish list, our memorial prayers at 10:30 briefly, and then going into study. It is 9:30 on the East Coast, so that's a half hour earlier than they were used to, even if it's a half hour later than we had been coming together. So it is study only, or mostly study, tomorrow, online only on Zoom at 10:30. There are some other special things coming up, some special events for Hanukkah, which you will hear about shortly, but next Friday night, as you know, we are coming together with our friends from down the street for the Interfaith Thanksgiving service. Please join us in person if you can, online if you can, next week. To those who are watching and want to come in person, a reminder, we do have a vaccination mandate here, so we are expecting those who do come in person to be vaccinated, but we do hope to come together and lift all our voices in song. And thank you, Chanel, for everything that you've done now and also leading to next week. I invite Marilyn Blackhall, our president, Carol Rich, our newest board member, and our other board members who are here with us, Trudy and Donald, to please come forward to the Ark at this time. Katina, as a past president, will you please come forward as well? Right here. But Donald and Marilyn, if you can open the Ark doors, and I ask you all to please rise. Now, I know that this is very small print, so I have learned my lesson, and I apologize for that. And Carol seems to have found a technological solution and enlarged it for her part. So, Trudy, if you can get the other door. Carol, Marilyn, come as close to me as you're comfortable. Okay. Carol, as you travel on your own journey into Jewish life, you also now take on a role as a leader of this holy community. Do you pledge to undertake the leadership of this Hebrew congregation of St. Thomas with the best interest of this congregation in your heart?
I do.
Do you pledge your personal commitment to Judaism and to the Jewish values upon which this congregation was founded?
I do.
Do you accept the continued leadership of Marilyn Blackhall as president of the Hebrew congregation and the officers of the executive board, both new and continuing?
I do. Take to lead a life of Torah, to make its message live in as many ways. I'm sorry.
As possible.
I put it on my phone, but it's turned around. Anyway, will you undertake to lead a life of Torah, to make its message live in as many ways as possible? Sorry. Do you accept the responsibility of being a spiritual role model, participating in the prayer life of this congregation and the sacred rituals of the week, of the year, and of life cycle? Will you undertake to help lead this congregation in the performance of communal mitzvot, both within the Jewish community and in the community at large?
To all members of the Board of Trustees, present and in person and online, will you work side by side with me and with our staff to bring about our vision of a vibrant, thriving, active, and caring center of Reform Jewish life in St. Thomas, St. John, and beyond. Members of the Hebrew congregation of St. Thomas, will you walk side by side with your elected leadership and your clergy and professional staff in fulfillment of communal mitzvot, and will you support this leadership within the Jewish community and the community at large? Members of the Hebrew congregation of St. Thomas, do you accept this board as your elected leadership? We didn't actually do an installation during COVID, so this is retroactively installing you as well. Carol Rich, on this occasion, I confirm the fact that you are now a member of the Board of Trustees of the Hebrew congregation of St. Thomas. I pray for God's blessing on you and on our congregation.
O God, this congregation has honored us with the task of leading them and of serving you with them. May we strive to be fit for this sacred task. May we lead well and we serve well. May we hear the quiet as well as the active voices. And may we heed the call and follow the fast. We, after honest searching, feel to be the right things to do. May we listen to each other, and may we listen to you. All of us together try to make this synagogue a B'rika Kedusha, a holy place.
And while we are here with the ark open, the bottom of page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol. Shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbachot hadama. Shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu kor'im umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. As we close the ark doors, shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed aretz umoshav yikaro b'shamayim mimal ushchinatu zo Ushchinatu zo begavhei meromim Hu Eloheinu Einod Emet Malkeinu Efesu Lato Kakatuv Betorato V'yadata hayom Mahashevota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim Bashamayim Bimal Ve'al Haaretz Mitachat Ein Od V'ne'emar V'haya Adonai Lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad. Hashem. Shema. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother, your sister walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give to them what you want to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children who need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We remember at this time those of our congregation's beloved whose yahrzeit occurs on this Shabbat: Louise Becker, Harold Borden, Miriam Brisdell, Rosalind Friedman, Hannah Halpern, Sigmund A. Kimmelman, Jerome Kreinik, Marat Portnov, Howard L. Rossoff, Elias J. Weibel. We observe yahrzeit for the following Chai members and those dear to our Chai members: Sylvia Abramson, Rose Achtel, Sam Bartnick, Morris Bellows, Ruth Bernstein, Mildred Breger, Philip Cashman, Jules Charlo, Robert Dolitsky, Lillian Dorfman, Sidney Dorfman, Ruth Epstein, Abraham Firestone, Jack Forrest, Paul Gerson, Solomon Gerson, Anna Gold, Edith Goldfarb, Sarah Herling, Harry Hockman, Sylvia Ivy, Harold Jacobs, Elliot Capstein, Stephen Keene, Samuel Levin, Albert Lonstein, Miriam Marcus, Simon Maslin, Allison Narvaez, Gert Noble, Sylvia Nochumsen, Abraham Orlinsky, Louis Pinchuk, Pauline Corredo, Joseph Rosen, Anna Sandler, Rose Slan, Serena Taub, Soledad Weinberg, Dr. Zane Wilk. Before I continue with Shloshim and recent deaths, is there anyone here to say Kaddish for someone whose name I did not mention? Anyone on Zoom to add a name for Kaddish?
Robert Steverson.
During the year of mourning, Ruth Novik.
Roy Blyden.
Shloshim, we mentioned Charles Arthur and Linda Bowman. And with sorrowing hearts, two who were laid to rest in recent days: Dorothy Schachtman and Alan Solomon Trustman. The memories of all of our loved ones are with us. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we turn now to Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. And as is the tradition in most Reform synagogues, we rise as a congregation as a whole for Kaddish Yatom, for the Mourner's Kaddish itself. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach kirutei v'amlich malchutei, B'chaye chon uvyome chon uv'chaye techol Beit Yisrael, B'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbam vorach leolam olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu, La'ela min kol birachata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, Ta'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn amongst us and wherever they may be, all those who are suffering the pain of loss everywhere, and together let us say, Amen. Please remain standing as we turn to page 625, but we have a ringer, a guest singer to lead. Once again, we call forward Leslie Luxembourg to the stand from which she lit the candles and from which Jennifer led the prayers in English. Please join us following the conclusion of Adon Olam for a brief Kiddush and Motzi in our foyer, and please come back, to those of you who are visiting, sometime post-COVID when we can have a nice full oneg at our community house across the street, as is right, as is proper, and as is not appropriate at the moment. So we continue with Adon Olam, a version which Leslie apparently knows, page 625. Kikla May we not only count the days, may we make our days count, and may we make our dreams come true. Shabbat Shalom.